Have you ever wondered what the world might look like if we don't take action against climate change? Climate change, a topic that is as vast as it is critical. Its effects are far-reaching, touching every corner of our planet, every ecosystem, and every living being. This video is your telescope to the universe of climate change, a tour that takes you through its many dimensions, the facts, the impacts, the causes, and the solutions. We live in a world where change is the only constant. But the rapid alterations we're witnessing in our climate are not just another change. These shifts are signals, urgent calls for attention, and immediate action. This journey we're about to embark on will equip you with knowledge, stir your thoughts, and hopefully, inspire you to be part of the solution. So, let's delve into the facts and figures about climate change. Climate change isn't a distant threat, it's a present reality. Let's delve into the facts. Our planet is running a fever, and it's not just a seasonal bug. The global temperature has risen by nearly 1 degree Celsius since the late 19th century. It may not sound like much, but even a small increase in Earth's temperature can have dramatic effects on our climate and ecosystems. Global warming is not a slow, steady climb. Instead, it's a series of leaps and bounds. The 5 warmest years on record have all occurred since 2010, and 2020 was tied with 2016 for the hottest year ever recorded. Now let's turn our attention to the poles. Polar ice caps function much like air conditioners, keeping our planet cool by reflecting sunlight back into space. But these giant ice mirrors are melting. Satellite data shows that Earth's polar ice sheets are losing a staggering 287 billion metric tons of ice per year. This meltwater is pouring into our oceans, contributing to global sea level rise. Speaking of water, let's talk about extreme weather events. Heat waves, heavy rain, hurricanes, droughts, you name it. The frequency and intensity of these events have increased over the past few decades. In fact, the number of record-breaking rainfall events worldwide has significantly risen over the past century. But it's not just about more rain or less ice, it's about a disrupted balance, a shift in patterns that have existed for thousands of years. It's about unpredictable weather that's harder to prepare for and recover from. These facts paint a grim picture, but how do they translate into real-world impacts? The impacts of climate change aren't just statistical, they're tangible and devastating. Our world is facing a real crisis, and we're seeing the effects right before our eyes. Imagine waking up to the news of your city being submerged underwater due to coastal flooding. These aren't scenes from a dystopian movie, but a reality for many people living in low-lying regions. Rising sea levels caused by the melting polar ice caps are turning bustling cities into watery graves. Homes, livelihoods, childhood memories, all washed away in an instant. Then there are the forest fires, nature's wrath amplified by our own actions. Picture this: a verdant forest, home to countless creatures, turned into a blazing inferno overnight. The flames, fueled by the dry conditions brought on by climate change, devour everything in their path. And when the fires finally die down, all that's left is a charred skeleton of what was once a thriving ecosystem. But the impacts of climate change aren't limited to just humans and trees. It's a domino effect that's causing a catastrophic loss of biodiversity. Creatures of all shapes and sizes, from the smallest insects to the majestic polar bears, are losing their homes and their lives. Coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea, are being bleached to death. Birds are altering their migratory patterns, and many species are inching closer to extinction. The intricate web of life is being torn apart, thread by thread. These aren't just isolated incidents. They're happening all over the world, from the smallest island nations to the largest continents. And they're happening right now. It's a grim picture, but it's important to face the reality of what we're dealing with. But what is causing these changes? And can we do anything to stop them? Climate change isn't a natural phenomenon. It's largely a result of human activity. This statement may feel like a punch in the gut, but it's a fact we need to face. Our actions, as a collective, have been pushing our planet's climate out of balance. One of the most significant contributors to climate change is the emission of greenhouse gases. But what are greenhouse gases, you ask? Picture a blanket wrapped around the Earth, trapping the sun's heat. That's essentially what greenhouse gases do. They are gases in our atmosphere that absorb and emit heat radiation, contributing to the greenhouse effect. The more of these gases we have in our atmosphere, the hotter our planet becomes. And guess what? Human activities are largely responsible for increasing concentrations of these gases. For starters, let's take a look at burning fossil fuels. Coal, oil, and natural gas are all fossil fuels. When we burn them for energy, They release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. These gases are like adding extra blankets to our already warm planet. Then, there's deforestation. Trees are like nature's vacuum cleaners. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, helping to cool the planet. But when we cut down trees to make way for agriculture or development, we are effectively turning off these vacuums. Worse still, when trees are burned or rot, they release the carbon they've stored back into the atmosphere. There's also the agriculture sector, which is a major source of methane, another potent greenhouse gas. Methane is released during the production of coal, oil, and natural gas. It's also emitted by livestock and other agricultural practices. Industrial processes, too, contribute to the release of greenhouse gases. These include chemical reactions necessary to produce goods from raw materials. So, you see, our daily activities, from driving cars to flipping on light switches, from eating a burger to buying a new gadget, all contribute to climate change. Clearly, our actions have consequences, but can we reverse the damage? This is the question we need to ask ourselves as we move forward, and the answer will determine the kind of future we're shaping for ourselves and generations to come. Fighting climate change isn't a lost cause. There are solutions within our reach. As we delve into the solutions, let's focus on 3 key areas: renewable energy, carbon capture technology, and sustainable agriculture. Each of these solutions holds immense potential to combat climate change, but they also require our concerted effort and dedication. First, let's talk about renewable energy. By turning to the sun, wind, water, and even heat from the earth, we can produce energy without the harmful carbon emissions that come from burning fossil fuels. Countries around the world are already harnessing the power of these natural resources, reducing their carbon footprint and paving the way for a cleaner future. But we can't stop there. The transition to renewable energy needs to be accelerated, and to do that, we need more investment and innovation in this sector. Next, we'll look at carbon capture technology. This isn't a magic bullet, but it's a crucial part of the puzzle. Carbon capture involves trapping the carbon dioxide at its emission source, transporting it, and then storing it so it doesn't enter the atmosphere. While the technology is still developing, it shows promising potential to reduce greenhouse gases. Finally, sustainable agriculture. From the way we grow our food to the way we manage our forests, agriculture plays a significant role in climate change. By adopting sustainable farming practices, we can reduce the sector's environmental impact. This includes things like crop rotation, organic farming, and agroforestry, which not only help in reducing carbon emissions, but also improve soil health and biodiversity. Remember, these solutions aren't a quick fix. They require time, resources, and most importantly, collective action. It's not just about what governments or corporations can do. It's about what we all can do. Every effort counts, no matter how small. These solutions give us hope, but they require collective action. Together, we can create a more sustainable future and ensure that our planet remains habitable for generations to come. Combating climate change isn't a job for someone else, it's a responsibility we all share. Here's the thing, my friends, we're all in this together, and together, we can make a difference. So how can you, yes you, take action against climate change? Well, there are countless ways, but let's start with the basics. Reducing your carbon footprint is a great first step. This means being mindful of the energy you use. Go for energy-efficient appliances, switch off lights when not in use, and consider renewable energy sources like solar power. Transportation is another big contributor to your carbon footprint. Whenever possible, opt for public transportation, carpool, or even better, biking or walking. Every mile not driven in a car keeps about 1 pound of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Next, let's talk about food. Did you know that the food industry contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions? Cutting down on meat and dairy, reducing food waste, and opting for locally sourced produce can make a big difference. Another effective way to combat climate change is by advocating for policy change. Use your voice and your vote to support leaders and initiatives that prioritize the environment. Consider joining or supporting organizations that fight against climate change. These groups work tirelessly to protect our planet, and they could use your help, whether it's through donations, volunteering, or simply spreading the word about their work. And don't forget about the power of education. Learn about climate change, its impacts and solutions. Then, share that knowledge with others. Ignite conversations, raise awareness, inspire action. Finally, remember that change starts at home. Make sustainable choices, practice eco-friendly habits, and encourage others to do the same. Never underestimate the power of individual action. Small changes, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Remember, every action counts, no matter how small. Now you know the facts, see the impacts, understand the causes, and have explored the solutions. We've journeyed together through the complexities of climate change, navigating the seas of scientific data, and beholding the stark reality of its effects. We've delved into the root causes and discovered the multitude of solutions within our grasp. Remember the facts we unpacked. Our planet is warming at an alarming rate. The last 5 years have been the hottest on record. Sea levels are rising, glaciers are melting, and extreme weather events are becoming the new norm. These aren't just abstract figures. They're the stark realities of a world in the grip of climate change. We've seen the impacts. The wildfires ravaging our forests, the hurricanes battering our coasts, the droughts parching our lands. We've seen the human cost too. Communities displaced, livelihoods destroyed, futures uncertain. Climate change isn't a distant threat. It's here, and it's affecting us all. We've understood the causes: our reliance on fossil fuels, our deforestation activities, our unsustainable consumption patterns. We've learned that we're not just bystanders to climate change, we're contributors. But that also means we can be the change makers. We've explored the solutions, from renewable energy to reforestation, from sustainable farming to green transportation. We've seen that there's no silver bullet, but there's a silver lining. Every action counts, every choice matters. Every one of us can make a difference. The time for action is now. The urgency cannot be overstated. Climate change isn't waiting, it isn't pausing, it's accelerating, and so must our efforts to combat it. We are the architects of our future. We have the power to shape it. We have the responsibility to protect it. We have the opportunity to turn the tide on climate change. So ask yourself this: what will you do today to help combat climate change?